Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to our third challenge for Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. How are you all doing? So good to see you. Sorry that took me a second. I had to get the bumpin' tunes going. Darius, good to see you again. Jill, hello. Hello. So I'm just gonna jump right in here. I'm Kathleen. I'm your host for the next week and a half. We're already almost through the first week of this 2-week challenge. So it is going from, this started on Monday and it's going to next Friday. All right, so let's jump into the actual challenge. First, I will introduce you to the landing page if you have not seen it yet. This is where you can register for the challenge, so if you want to take part and get reminders every day and the starter files and everything, you can go to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. Do a little zoom in there. Magic. What's up, Kimberly? Yeah, 1/4 of the way done. There you go. Speaking of the fact that it's Thursday, who else is joining me for Graphic Tee Thursday? It's a thing. I've got my Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival tee on, as well as this cool embroidered number. The Pumpkin Festival is canceled this year, which is sad, but I understand. Yeah, thank you, Sam, for posting the link to register for the challenges. Appreciate it. What's up, Pablo? So again, you can register here, and if you scroll down, you can see that today's challenge is monograms. So this is really just a text or a type exercise in Photoshop. And we're also going to be playing with blend modes to see how we can integrate different letter forms together to create a monogram. And if you don't know what a monogram is, it's basically a letter that represents your name, someone else's name. It could be 3 letters, it could be your first, middle, and last, or however many names that you have. It could just be your first name, but we're really putting a lot of effort into choosing the correct letter form that feels like it fits your personality or the goal. And specifically for this project, we're going to be making a postcard. So it's a 4x6-inch document that is supposed to kind of be like your own letterhead. So you can send a monogrammed postcard that has your monogram on it and then some sort of well-wishing message. Just checking in on people. You could send it digitally or actually print it out and send it in the mail if you want to, and check in on people. So if you want to get the starter file, you can click Get Started and you can download it right there. But before we jump into the actual project, I want to show you a little bit of inspiration too. I'm really inspired by the work of Hope Meng. She's located in San Francisco, and she's an amazing graphic designer specifically, but also is so good with letters. I think she works mostly in Illustrator, so these are very vectory shapes. There's also some hand lettering in there as well. But if you just want some inspiration on how letters can work together, you can go to lettering.hopemeng.com. Zoom in here. There you go. And you can specifically just look at her monograms. She's got tons of them. Every letter. Goodbye prints too. Support a local artist. You like how the challenge is monograms and I'm wearing an embroidered letters all over her shirt? So thematic. I didn't do it on purpose. Just happens like that sometimes. Cool. So we have our inspiration, and before we jump into the actual project, let me introduce you to Discord again. If you don't think these live streams are long enough, because they are pretty short, and you want to keep hanging out with the community or asking questions or getting feedback on your work, you can join us on Discord here, bit.ly/psdiscord, capital P, capital S. Valdair and I were spending a lot of time yesterday doing some feedback. Specifically, he is such a rock star giving feedback. So if we jump back to my screen, I'll show you what I mean. If you join Discord, you can post your everyday's challenge in this current challenge channel. Is this the Blue Jackets? Hey, nice. It's my hockey team. But yesterday you can see that we had a lot of mood boards coming in. Mood boards and monograms. Ooh, Lori, this one's really nice. Good vibes. And people did it in a lot of different ways. They did visual journals. They did almost like postcards, like showing an experience they had. Some trips, some travel photos. Very cool. Matt, nice. Already did your monogram. Hey, Orange. Good to see ya. So if you want to get feedback on your work as you're going along, post it in Discord. It's open 24/7. I know, doesn't he give excellent feedback? He really takes his time with it. We appreciate him to the moon. All right, so let's actually jump into Photoshop. So this is the starter file that I provided. And you'll see that there are already blend modes applied and there's already a monogram in here. It's my monogram, KM, for Kathleen Martin. But I want you to customize this, break this file apart, really see how it works so you can really understand blend modes and also how type works in Photoshop, because it's not like how it works in Illustrator. I think a lot of people work with type a lot more often in Illustrator or even InDesign. But Photoshop has a type tool and it has Adobe Fonts integration, so it is not to be ignored at all. So if we open this starter file, you'll see that we have a texture layer. And if I choose the texture layer, you'll notice that the blend mode, we talked a little bit about blend modes, I think yesterday, it's this drop down, it is set to soft light. But if I set it back to normal, you'll notice that it is just a concrete texture. It's just a photograph that I took of my wall in my backyard. So that is there, and the blend mode is normal, so it is just concrete. We'll turn off the visibility for now, and you'll notice that now these letters do not have any texture on them. They're not blended together. We can also double click this color swatch or color chip to change the background color in real time. I kind of liked a really light blue. We could go with like a lighter cream color depending on what you want. And I chose a classic blue and kind of magenta for a kind of a modern 3D-esque feel. I like this color palette a lot. But you'll notice that you can see the M through the K, and that is due to blend mode. So we'll turn this back to normal. Now the K is just sitting on top of the M. If we change the blend mode of the M, not much is going to happen. I mean, it's going to change colors, but you're not going to be able to see it through the K. And that's because it is underneath the K. So, like its name, blend modes, they help layers blend with the layers underneath them. So if we change the K, you'll be able to see the M through it. And then if we drag the M on top of the K and change the M's blend mode, we'll be able to see the K through it. So I totally recommend you just play with these blend modes. We are going to be using one of my favorite blend modes because it packs a lot of punch every time. We're just going to be using multiply. This just allows whatever layer is on top to keep the darkness of its pixels, but it becomes transparent, almost like you're using a projector and you're using transparencies on top of each other. So we're going to set our top letter to multiply. Now you can choose the text tool over in your tools panel and click on one of the letters, and you could change it to whatever you want. So I see Bianca, so we have a B. Last name starts with a V. So we could change these however we want to. We can use the move tool and grab our letter form, move it around. I feel like you could almost make like a bird face with this. Interesting. So feel free to play with these depending on what shape your monograms are. So for example, I have an M and it's really tall and skinny, and I have a K that's a little bit wider. You can play with that. So I wanted the M to take up a little bit more vertical space and the K to take a little more horizontal space. It's a nice juxtaposition between a really kind of thick to thin letter form of the M versus this real slabby K. D says rad blending, and it was so easy, right? Super duper easy. Also, one thing I wanted to touch on before I actually jump into finding new typefaces is even opening a new Photoshop document. That's something we might take for granted if we're comfortable with Photoshop or if we're just used to opening PSDs. But let me just show you really quick how to make a new Photoshop document. Alrighty, we're gonna go to File and New. So when you do that, you will see this new document window, and at the top here there's a ribbon of a bunch of tabs. So these are different kinds of kind of topics that people often use in Photoshop. So we've got photo, we've got print, art and illustration, web if you're doing any web design or UI design, mobile, and film and video. So if we go to print, we see we have a bunch of poster sizes, paper sizes. Daria says this is easy as eating pie. I'm glad to hear it. No, it does not need to be the same font. Not at all. We're going to touch on that for a lot of this challenge actually, but let me finish this new document workflow really quick. So we could choose one of these. If we know the size of the document we want to make, maybe we're making a flyer and it needs to be legal sized, or we can come over to the right side and do a custom document. So specifically for this postcard, it's a vertical 4x6 postcard. So we could do 4x6. You can easily change the orientation if you just click these two and you see it just swapping the two variables in here. We can start our document with artboards if we want to. I'm not going to, we don't need to right now. And I'm going to keep the resolution at 300 because I'm imagining that people might want to print these. So if you're going to print anything on paper, you want the resolution to be probably 300. You could probably get away with 200 if it's not too detailed, but why not go with 300 if you can? All right, background is white, that works for me, and we can click create. Now before I do that, let me also show you that in these different topics, you can scroll down and download free templates as well. They're all free. If they're in here, they are free. You'll just click on it. It'll take you to Adobe Stock to download and use. So we're gonna do this again, 4x6. And when I do that, it creates a new document exactly how I want it. All right, so let's jump into the typefaces. I know y'all are excited about this. Mark, no ICC profiles. Oh, great idea, Mark. I think you were having trouble with the ICC profiles with the starter file. That's a great tip. So let's choose some custom typefaces, shall we? I think you're all wondering what these are right now. So if I open up my properties panel a little bit more, you'll see this character area, and you'll see that the K is the typeface Henderson Slab right there. And the M is Ambroise. Ambroise? Sounds French. Ambroise Francois. There you go. And if you open the starter file, you might have even gotten a little dialogue when you first opened it saying like, hey, you don't have these typefaces yet. Do you want to sync them or activate them? You can just click activate and you will have them. That's one of the best parts of having a Creative Cloud subscription, I think, is you have access to thousands of fonts via Adobe Fonts. If I open my character panel, you can scroll through all of the fonts you have and preview them in real time. And if you have some Adobe fonts synced or activated, you can kind of filter your fonts over here so that you're only seeing your custom fonts that you've chosen to activate. So I have a lot in here. And you'll see next to some of the families, I even have a little twirl arrow, and there's even more in here. It's pretty wild. I have a lot, and it doesn't really slow down my Photoshop at all, which is nice. Does adding a lot of fonts slow down your program? That's a great point. Not in my experience, but if you easily and quickly want to deactivate a font, it is not hard. Let's go to Adobe Fonts so I can show you how to activate and then how to deactivate them. So let's click on this little Creative Cloud icon right here. It says more from Adobe Fonts. This will appear if you have your characters panel open. We'll click it. It's going to take us to Adobe Fonts. And if you are logged in with your Creative Cloud subscription, not Apple ID, Adobe ID, you can see what you have activated. You can check out some font packs. This is where I usually start my search. I'll try and see what's inspiring to me. I think that this poster pack is really good for these monograms. They're bold, they have some personality to them. I really like this Womp typeface. I think it would make a really nice monogram. And you will see that I have this little slider that says the font is activated, but I can super easily deactivate it by just clicking it. And then it's taken off of my cloud, it's taken out of my programs. But if I want it back, you just slide it again. Really easy. Can you transform a font on Photoshop? Yeah, that's actually maybe one of the reasons why I would use Photoshop over Illustrator, is the organic transformations you can do, like liquefying and warping. You can do those things in Illustrator as well, but it's a little bit more rigid. If you really just want to get fun, Photoshop might be the place. Alrighty. Sean says fonts are only active for a certain time and then they deactivate. That's true. I've seen a lot of typefaces that say activate for 180 days, just so you activate it and then you don't have too many piling up. You can always reactivate it. And new fonts are being added all the time, so it's pretty cool. But I really recommend starting with this font pack. But if you just want to browse, you can. And this is actually helpful for this format of Monogram. So we have a 4x6 postcard. It's tall and skinny. So you might want to search for typefaces that are also tall and skinny so that they take up a lot of the space in your design. So like this M does a good job, but maybe the K could be a typeface that's takes a little bit more of that Y. Not a math person, but more vertical space. Yeah, Mia, font packs, and you can activate them all at once. It's very cool. So let's go back. We can designate the width. Maybe we want something that is maybe a little bit thinner in the width. And then we can take a peek. You can also preview, so I could type in KM. Might even do KM, KM, lowercase and uppercase. Ooh, this Liza one might be nice. And then if I want to activate it, I'm going to view the family. Maybe we'll grab just the regular one. That sounds good. One more thing that I was going to recommend for these typefaces is you might want to play with a typeface that has a filled in version and an outlined version. Specifically for this Monogram, you could have the filled in version be your first name and the outlined be your last name, so it blends together a little bit more nicely. For example, in this Rig typeface, there's a ton of outlined versions and inlined versions, and all kinds of different fill-in amounts, so medium, halftone, bold. So I already have some of these activated, and let's go back to Photoshop and play with some new typefaces. I know, Darius, so many choices. So many choices. So I'm gonna make my layers a little bit bigger. I mentioned that maybe in your first name you would have it the filled in typeface, and then in your last name maybe you'd use just an outlined one. So for this M, I am gonna try and find just an outlined typeface that I already have. So let's play with some of these, see if I have any outlined options. I really love this broken script typeface. It's not outlined, but I just want to say that I love it, and I can never find a reason to use it because it's pretty loud. So maybe I could do something like this. I'm going to commit my changes. All right, let's try something else. Indeed, I have too many. You just used Rig Solid to replace a similar font? Nice. I read your mind. This one looks pretty nice, has a lot of those thick to thins. So it's similar thickness to the K, but it also has those really skinny little feet. All right, there's one that I have in mind. Oh, here's that Womp that I talked about. Ooh, that's nice. That feels kind of funky, like it might be on an album or a vinyl cover. So I want to use Vibro. How cool is that? That M is really interesting. I could play with, why am I not on my type tool? I could play with using like an uppercase or a lowercase m maybe. That's the uppercase. It doesn't really look like an M, but this might be interesting if I layered it right on top of the K. That feels really 3D. It's kind of hard to look at, so maybe I will decrease the saturation. Could even change the color. That's kind of cool. It's very toned down. But I'm just gonna go back to the lowercase m. Oh, whoops, wrong one. And if you want to quickly get out of your type tool in Photoshop, it's pretty easy. You just hold Command or Control if you're on a PC and hit Enter. Now you're out of your type tool, but you can easily reselect anything. You can also hit escape. Makes me dizzy, yeah, I know. I feel ya. All right, let's go back to our kind of orangish, salmony color. Orange-ish. I'm gonna decrease the size a little bit, so I'm just opening my transform options that we played with yesterday. We'll move this on top here, hit return to confirm. Let's change the color back to something a little more pink. It's a little more easy to look at, I think. Still not sure what I think of the trend of the uneven baseline. It feels a little willy-nilly, right? Not very classic for sure. And maybe I want to increase the saturation of this blue a bit. Nice, now we're looking at the world with 3D glasses. Love it. I'm gonna select both of my layers. I can do that quickly by just grabbing this monogram group that's in the starter file. And I'm gonna move this to the center. Now in this file, I also have a little phrase, whatever you want to use kind of as like your second line of copy for your postcard. What's your message for this postcard? We have the monogram that says, yes, it is from me. But what's your message? I'm just saying wishing you well, but it could be something more specific. It could be a birthday card. It could be an I miss you. How you doing? How you holding in there? And I might line it up with the M instead of just both shapes. And there we go. I totally recommend that you just play with these, see what you like typeface-wise, let me know, and post it in Discord so we can see what you chose. I'm really interested to see what color palettes you choose because that's almost as important as the typeface. There we go. All right, I'm gonna export this, get it uploaded on Discord, and see what you all think. Pam says I usually do monograms in machine embroidery. Oh, nice. This is perfect. You can design it in Illustrator, zap it on over, or use it as a template. What's up, Ann Kirker, aka my mom? I see you today. She was in chat yesterday, but I didn't see her. Hi, Mom. Love ya. How you doing? We're gonna go to export, export as, and wait for it to load. All right, the size is 1200 by 1800. That works for the actual 4x6 postcard, but for uploading it on Behance, you can make it a little bit smaller. Doesn't need to be full size. Let's do like 700. The height will automatically change. Kathleen's superhero name, amazing person. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, we've got monogram. Let's do for Discord, day 3. I want to get some feedback before I upload it on Behance. Oh, Judith, great point. That's a really fun way to play with color palettes is going to color.adobe.com and you can make your own color palette. All right, let's get this uploaded. So I'm coming to the bottom of the current challenge channel. I'm clicking this little plus button to add some sort of media. We're going to choose our file. I'm going to ask you what you all think. Please let me know. Do you think of the palette is the pink, blue, too hard to look at? Definitely want to make sure it's not too hard to look at, but maybe causes like a little bit of visual interest, I should say. There we go. We will see what you think. Thank you, Orange Bandito. Did I call you Orange Burrito? Orange Bandito. Sorry about that. That's funny. Color is now in Photoshop. Great point, John. Maybe we can go over that in a future challenge. All right, so upload your work here. Me and the other mentors are going to be hanging out, giving you feedback, and you can also give each other feedback. I should say you should give each other feedback. That makes the world a much better place, I think. So I'm going to pop over to the schedule. Got too many mouse going on over here. And we will see what else is going on for Adobe Live today. So we've got more flirting to do coming up right after me with Aaron Nace at 9:30. So he's going to be doing some photo retouching. If you want to stay in Photoshop and learn something a little bit different, please stick around. He's amazing. If you haven't heard of Flern, you should hear of Flern. Stick around, subscribe on YouTube. They're awesome. Then Andrew's going to be here for his Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge. I think he's teaching baking in Illustrator. He's always so good with the theme challenges, so come back for that. We've got editorial design coming up at noon, and then an XD Daily Creative Challenge at 2, followed by Doodle Therapy with Alice, and then the design off with Voodoo and Wade. I was watching a little bit yesterday. They were drawing goblins together. Good stuff. They're both very talented and have a lot of experience, like in the concept art world. So come back for that if you're interested. All right, I'm going to log off now. I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. for day 4, and I'll see you on Discord before that. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye. Stick around.